All right, good morning. Welcome to Math 1440, Applications of Calculus 2. Congratulations, you made it. This is the end of the line for your math stuff. So, a little bit about me. When I graduated high school, I went to a community college myself. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I would kind of go for a semester and then work for a semester or two, and then kind of ping pong between that until I got my act together. I had a lot of friends that they would their interests were not academically aligned. So after a while of going through community college and kind of leaving those friends behind, I had two other friends, and we decided that we wanted to go to New Mexico because this was in the days before the internet existed. So we had to look through the little books, and we found that the cheapest school in the country was New Mexico Tech. So that's where I went. So we loaded everything up in the truck, drove out here from Pennsylvania, and here I am still today. So that was years ago. That was last century, 1900s. Okay, so went to New Mexico Tech. Ended up majoring in math. When I got done with that, I worked for a little while in a jewelry factory in Albuquerque, and decided that wasn't quite where I wanted to be yet. So I went back to graduate school. Same New Mexico Tech. When I got done with graduate school, I moved out to San Francisco for a little while. That worked out for a while. Ended up having to move back to New Mexico. That's okay. After being around here for a little bit, I got a job with a company called Ball Aerospace. If your grandmother cans, if you know people who do canning, the jars that they would usually use were Ball jars. Now, Ball decided that one day that they needed better glass for their jars, so they started looking into different kinds of glass, and they found better glass to make camera lenses. And of course, the thing you do with a camera lens is you put them on satellites. So that's what they actually graduated into eventually. My job at Ball was to shine lasers at the cameras and then figure out what the damage was going to be. It sounds a lot neater than it actually was, but it was a pretty interesting job for a bit. Okay, and then when things went south there, I ended up coming back to CNM, and here we are. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can show you the syllabus and walk you through the class. So let's go ahead and do that. Share. Okay. So we can say, okay, congratulations. We have the right time. We have the right semester. We're all good with that. Course description. I would let you read most of this for yourselves because you can. Okay. It's an online class, so we don't really have meeting times. I do have office hours, so those are going to be on syllabus Tuesdays in the morning. If you need a different time, please email me and let me know. We can arrange different times for you if we have to. The best way to get in touch with me is email. The phone number goes to my office, and if I'm not there, I mean, if I'm there, I'll answer the phone. But if I'm not there, it goes to voicemail, and I will get it. And if you leave a message, it goes to a little app on the computer where I can play the voicemail that you've left. So that is reliable, and I will get back to you for that. A couple of students did that to me last semester and in previous semesters. But the Zoom office hours are sitting here in the syllabus. So you can just copy and paste this into your browser, and that'll go ahead and work out. Um, Textbook is you've already bought the textbook. You should already have access to MyMATLAB, which also will include a digital copy of the textbook. So if somebody is like, "Here, pay us money," like, you've already paid for it, so don't pay anybody any more money for doing this. Okay. If you want a hard copy version of it, I think the bookstore will say like the loose leaf thing for it, but that's up to you to do that. Um, I would say, as far as the calculator go, I have something. I have a, you know, yes, we have a TI-30X2. That's the calculator that I use for most of what I do. It will do everything you're supposed to be able to do in math. It won't do anything fancy. Okay, so if you're like, I need to integrate, like it won't do that. If you want to fancy your calculator, but you don't want to pay for it, I've got a little website on here that you can get an emulator from TI. And you want the TI-83, you can go ahead and get that. That will do integrations for you, but there's enough of that. Uh, let's see here. Yep. Okay, so let's So that's pretty much what you need for the class. You need an internet connection. You need to be able to access the textbook, at least the homework for it. And of course, you have your calculator. Now, when you go to take your exams, you do them in the C&M Assessment Center. You're only allowed to have a scientific calculator. They won't let you bring a graphing calculator in. Okay, so there won't be anything that I'm going to be doing with the graphing calculator that you're going to have to go deal with. Okay, so I'm trying to get down to the grading categories where everything is. So I've got all of the different pieces here that you're going to be, your grade will be calculated on. Homework, that refers to the MyMathLab assignments. Pretty much you have unlimited attempts at doing most of them. And I've tried to make sure that you have about 10 problems per section per week. There's 2 sections per week. So you're looking at about 20 problems per week that you're doing for your homework. Worksheets, I give you worksheets once a week. You'll find those in the Brightspace shell. You take a picture of them and go ahead and send that in, and I go ahead and grade those. Now, worksheet problems tend to be a little bit more involved than homework problems, and they tend to be a little bit more complicated. So you're allowed to get help with the worksheet problems. I'm more than happy to give you a hint. I'm more than happy to, like, here, go try this way. You're more than happy to look at tutors. You can use any resource you'd like to as far as the worksheets. I would prefer that you at least try to think through them and try to do them on your own before you went off to get help. But I'm not going to know. Okay. I've also included something called daily exercises. So those are 3 problems per week. And the idea there is, because I know how people take online classes, and I would like you to interact with your material more than once per week, because I know everybody just does it on Sunday and that's it. So this is something that is due every other day, okay, for the course of the semester. So it's like 45 problems in total, or 15 times 3, 45. So it's quite a few problems that you're going to be dealing with, but they're not really supposed to be hard, at least not until the class starts to get hard, because there's some parts of the class where the problems are they're just long. Okay. And I'm sorry for that. It's just the way that these sections tend to run. And believe me, I remember doing this myself when I went through the classes. And yes, they're just long problems, and there's nothing I can really do about that. But I'm not going to pick the hardest ones. I'm trying to pick ones where you can kind of get on, do the problem. And again, you're doing this with pencil and paper. So think about this as if you were going to be testing for it. Okay, so write out the problem, write out your solution, take a picture of it, click, and then go ahead and send me the PDF of the of your work, and I'll go ahead and grade that for you. So we have that. We have exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. I think they are about 10 questions long each. At least that's how I tend to run them. I gave you the whole time in the testing center. We're allocated 2-hour little blocks to do this. So I give you the whole 2 hours to do the 10 problems. So they should look a lot like, I mean, if there's one of them is a worksheet problem, I usually say in the worksheet, hey, I've used this as a problem on a test before, so that you know this is potentially a test problem. Okay. Daily exercises could all generally be test problems, because they're supposed to be something that's very straightforward to be able to deal with. The other ones, like if I don't get them from daily exercises, a lot of times I get them from homework problems. Okay, so don't look at the worksheet problems thinking this is going to be the norm, because it sometimes is, but it often is. Or if they're too hard, I generally don't pick those for your test problems. Okay, and some of them do get a little risky. So final exam, that one is a little bit longer. It's 12 problems long. It's a little bit bigger of a percentage of your grade. I do replace one of your tests with your final. So if you come in on exam 1 and you do terrible and you do great on the final exam, that final exam score is going to replace your exam 1 score. Okay, let's see. About 25% of the grade is done with worksheets, homeworks, and daily exercise, which is a non-proctored kind of a thing, leaving about 75% of the class to be exams and final exam. I know that's a lot, but that's generally how math classes work across the board. Because I don't know, when we had our little training sessions on how to run an online class, the one thing that I looked at, it was like, I will never do a group project for an online class because we had to do a group project for an online class and it was awful. So I would not want to put anybody else through that experience. So that's how we're going to do that. Not every homework is going to count. So I'm going to drop a couple of homeworks for you, and I'll drop a couple of daily exercises as well. So it's like if you don't get one in, it's not the end of the world. You do get a couple of drops for those. Okay, so that's how that goes. Let me go through the whole class. The first week, okay, I did modify the homework for the first week. They used to have like these 50 problem monstrosities of review of derivatives. I think I've cut it down to 20 problems. So, I did lie to you already by saying that there's going to only be 10 problems. I think for the first two assignments, which are review of derivatives and integrals, there's 20 problems each in those sections for the first week. You've got like kind of some monster homeworks to deal with. If you need extensions on them, let me know. I will extend them. Okay, but technically it should be stuff that you learned in 1440, or no, I'm sorry, 1430. So they should be review of Calculus 1 and what you did at the end of it. Okay, then we go into numerical integration. We talk about a couple of things there. You're not responsible for the formulas. We go for integration by parts. You should be responsible for that formula. I would definitely memorize that one. But I'll say more about that when we get to it. Volume, L'Hopital's rule, and proper integrals. And then we have exam 1. Then we get to the parts where it starts to get a little bit longer, where we have multivariate functions. We have x, y's, and z's. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of stuff going with that. We get a couple of things with differential equations. Don't let the name scare you. They are fairly straightforward problems. Effectively, it's just another way for me to ask you to integrate more. Okay, there's a lot of numerical methods that we use because you're lab scientists in general. So lab scientists generally use a lot of numerical methods. So we try to concentrate on doing some of those. We do some series solutions at the end, and then we do some probability, and that is the whole class. All right. So let's see here. I don't think there's anything else for me to talk about. So with that, I will say welcome to the class, and I hope everybody has a very successful semester. Okay. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you virtually in class here.